Hey, y'all. Welcome to season 2 of the Reckless Optimist podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. This is a show about hope, strength, perseverance, and resilience. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Mike. Mike is a super amazing guy. He has run all 6 of the world majors, which is super impressive. He is also 4.5 years sober. He shares his story tonight. It is an extremely powerful story. I'm super proud of him for sharing some of the harder parts. He does it with such grace and poise, and it really is an inspiring story. I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Help me welcome Mike to the podcast.
Hey, Megan. So great to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited you're here. I have to tell everyone how me and you know each other. So we met through the online running community. I am now observing all of the awesome posters you have behind you for the listeners. It looks like a Chicago marathon, a Boston marathon. What else you got back there?
I have New York, Boston from last year, and then these are New York from a couple years ago. I've actually done all of the majors. Mine is Sydney since that's new. But yeah, I finally decided to hang everything up.
And those are some fast times, I see. Look, 3:16. What's your PR?
3:11, 50, which I got in New York in 2024.
And New York's a hard course.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what happened. I finished and I literally said, how did this happen? But yeah, it was a dream come true when I finished that. I was really happy.
That's amazing. We're twins. My PR's 3:10.
Nice.
Yes, I'm chasing the sub 3 as anyone is that's close to it, right? And I'm running Boston for the first time. We were just talking about that before we jumped on. But Boston, you can tell me because I've never ran it. It's not really a PR course. It's kind of hilly and hard.
Some people PR on it. I mean, for the most part, the middle portion is kind of flat and downhill. And I think the beginning is actually downhill too. It's just when you get to mile 20 with the Newton Hills that it becomes kind of a struggle.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of people who have PR'd on it, and it blows my mind. I'm running Boston too. I don't know if I'm going to PR at Boston this year. Probably not. But, I'm just going to go out there and have fun and enjoy the crowds.
Yay. So you'll be there too.
I will. Yes.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, we're going to get started with a quote for your episode. And this quote is by Bill Rogers, a famous runner, also known as Boston Billy. He won the Boston Marathon 4 times, and he's known for thriving in tough conditions. So the quote goes, "Every marathon I ran, I learned something new about myself. And this is what kept me coming back." What does that quote mean to you?
I just got chills because I think about my first marathon, and I've run 16 marathons. So I think between the first and the 16, it doesn't matter how many marathons I run, every single one teaches me something new. It's not just learning about how you can be a better runner and how you can run the course better, but I learned so much more about myself because there are moments, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to this too, and a lot of the listeners, where during a marathon, there's a point where I say, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. And it's in those moments that I really learn more about who I am. And I remember when I ran my first marathon, I finished and I thought my feet were broken. And I thought it was a one and done kind of thing. And the immediate thought that I had as soon as I crossed the finish line was, what's next? And that sparked the belief and the confidence in myself that I never knew that I had, and helped me build my resilience and my perseverance into kind of what it is today. And with this quote, I love it because I think about it in 2 different ways. It's either I learned something about how I can be a better runner with the course, or how I can be a better runner or a person just in general. Because once you run a marathon, and so many people have said this, you become a different person. It changes you. And I think that with each race, it builds up who I am and helps me understand fundamentally just who I am as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that. The marathon is a classroom too, right? And it humbles you. Every marathon I've done, I think Boston will be my 8th, if you don't count the ultra marathons. And yeah, every single one I've been completely stripped to my core. Every single one you're going to experience discomfort. You're going to experience negative talk, kind of like what you were talking about. You're going to experience huge challenges. Getting through those is what shapes you. That tension that you go through is what shapes you and what changes you. And I love this guy, Boston Billy. He seems like a little rebel, but I agree with him. And I think a lot of races change you. I mean, the marathon is super unique because of the distance itself and the training it takes to be able to complete it. And I think a lot of that growth occurs in that training block as well.
Absolutely. And one thing that I love and hate about marathons is it doesn't matter how many times you run one, each one is a brand new thing, because you can have the perfect training, you can have the perfect hydration, nutrition, and everything, but once you start that race, anything can happen. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you ran one last month and you're running a new one now. It's just, it's its own beast each and every single time. And you have
Yeah.
to, the way I like to think about it is you have to respect it. You have to respect the distance and the race itself, because if you go in trying to think that you're pompous and that you can do this with no problems, usually that doesn't work out properly.
Yeah, yeah. It's also like the only sport, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, where the amateurs, I guess is the right word, or novice runners or beginner runners or any runner, line up with elites. Like you're at the
Mhm.
same race with the elites. I don't know what other sport does
Yeah.
that. That part's really cool.
I love that so much. One of the things that I always advocate for runners is it doesn't matter if you finish in 2 hours and it doesn't matter if you finish in 6 hours. Both of you are getting the same medal and
Yeah,
you're both crossing the same finish line.
yeah.
So you should be proud of yourself regardless of how you got to that finish line.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have lots of questions for you. I know that you do so much in the running world, but before we get to all of that, we would love to hear your story. So, wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back.
Absolutely. So I started running in 2018, which was probably the lowest period of my life. I had gone through a ton of things at the beginning of the year. I First, in February, I tried to take my life, and it was a really big struggle kind of picking myself up from there because I was at rock bottom. I thought that I was just worthless, didn't need to be here, and then I had kind of no future, no goals, no I couldn't think of really anything that I could be proud of that I had succeeded at. And when that happened, it kind of gave me a couple things that I figured out at that moment. I was like, well, I'm at rock bottom, but when I made my attempt, there was a voice that popped into my head as soon as it happened that I'll never forget. It was a whisper. It definitely didn't sound like my voice, and it said, not yet. And that's what made me get up and go get help and go to the hospital. And I kept remembering that voice as I was in the hospital. And I actually journaled during that time. And I was really doing a lot of self reflection. I was in therapy, work with my therapist on that. And a couple weeks after I got out of the hospital, my girlfriend of like 4 years broke up with me. So that hurt. And then a couple weeks later, I found out that one of the greatest men in my life, my uncle, I grew up in a single family household with just my mom, and he was one of the only father figures that I had. I found out that he had cancer and it was bad. And so he passed away about 2 months later, and that broke my heart. And so I was dealing with all these kind of things. And then I finally decided to go to a primary doctor because I hadn't been to one in years because I have all these things that are going on. I want to make sure that I'm okay. And I found out that my blood pressure was kind of hypertension too. It was compared to what I look like now is about 50 pounds heavier. And my doctor told me in like no uncertain terms, if you don't start taking care of yourself in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have a massive heart attack or a stroke. And that runs on the male side of my family. So I was very, very scared about that. I I decided to go to the gym and I had two options. I remember I went up the stairs and it kind of divided into two. You could either go to the weight section or you can go to the cardio section. And I took one look at the weights and I saw all of the buff guys that were just like staring at themselves in the mirror. And I said, absolutely not. I felt so judged and so self conscious. So I went over to the treadmills. I went to the farthest treadmill I could find. When you push start on the treadmill, it automatically went for 20 minutes. And so I said to myself, "Okay, we'll make this a goal to be able to just run for those 20 minutes without stopping." And it was horrible at first. I could barely run. I was doing a lot of run walking, and my cardiovascular strength was just like not there. I had no endurance. But over time, it took me about a month or two. I finally was able to do that. And I started to realize as I was running, listening to my music, I was like, you know what? This is really calming for me and really meditative. So I decided, what if I went for a 5K? So I went on the treadmill, did my first 5K. I was really shocked by that. And then it kind of evolved from there. I did a 10K, I did a 15K. And then finally in 2019, I decided to do my first race that I had ever done. I ran for the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI, in New York City. And that was a 5K. I raised money for it. And I will never forget how I felt as I ran that race and when I finished because I had never really run outside because I was really judging of myself and how I looked. But when I ran that race and I finished, I felt this sense of accomplishment and also competitiveness that I never felt before. So I started to run outside more and then discovered the New York Road Runners, which managed the New York City Marathon. I had a friend whose friend had run in 2017 and I was sitting with them and I said, you know what? I think I want to try and qualify for it by doing their 9+1 program. And I had a friend who told me, you don't have enough time to do that. I took that as spite and I did it in about 3 months. So I was supposed to run my first marathon in 2020 and it was canceled because of COVID. So I ran my first marathon in 2021, and there's a picture somewhere on my Instagram. I ran that race with kind of no, I trained in quotes, you could say. But I had no plan when it came to like nutrition, hydration, all of this stuff. Shoes, I just bought what everybody was using. And it was incredible in terms of my first marathon. I will never forget coming off the Verrazano Bridge and hearing just the roar of people in Brooklyn. It like, I almost started crying because I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen this before in my life. There's a picture of me on Instagram where I am just like in tears. Like I look like I'm in pain and that I am just sobbing while I do it. And when I had those pictures taken, I was like, this is going to be really cathartic. I'm going to be able to post these pictures, be really proud of them. They're so embarrassing, but I love posting them because it speaks volumes about the accomplishment that I had. And when I finished that first marathon, I had also kind of learned at that time about the World Marathon Majors. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try to do those. And somehow got into the lottery for Berlin in 2022, did a charity for Chicago in 2022. I'd made it a goal to run New York every single year since I started. So I ran my fifth New York last year, running it again this year. 23, I did London, and then 2024, I did Tokyo and Boston. All of them, except for Berlin and New York, were with charities. I love running for charities. I love raising funds to be able to give back to organizations while doing what I love. And during this whole process, like I didn't wake up and say, I want to be a marathon runner. I just picked myself up from rock bottom and said, I just want to find something that will help me. And running just became a savior for me. I didn't get that what they call runner's high for probably a good 6 to 8 months because I didn't understand how it worked or what it was. But as I started to really get into the groove and finally start to kind of focus on running itself, I discovered during my runs just how perseverant and resilient I was. And I started to feel proud of myself for the first time. And I started to gain a confidence that I never knew that I had. And if you had told me that I would travel the world to run marathons and go to Europe and go to Asia, like I would tell you were crazy. And if you had told me back in 2018 that I would have run 60 marathons and that I would kind of be where I am today, they would not believe you. That moment, I always tell people just helped me change and do a complete 180 because if you saw me back then versus now, you would see a completely different person physically and mentally. And so running saved my life. It gave me what I have today. And I don't think that, I would be anywhere close to where I am, personal life, work life, without running because of everything that it's taught me.
Wow. I got a little choked up in your story. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And thank you for sharing some of the hard parts of your story. I have some follow up questions for you. You had mentioned you'd kind of gone through a rock bottom in 2018. Did an event lead up to that? Were you suffering maybe from some anxiety, some depression? Kind of give us the background there.
Yeah, I've suffered with depression since I was a kid. I've always beat myself up. I've always just never been happy with who I am. And I think that just kind of is a testament to me just not knowing who I am. And at the same time, I've had really bad anxiety my whole life, just always on edge, always feeling like something bad is about to happen. And I was kind of trying to work with the doctor to figure out, what kind of meds would be beneficial for me in order to help. And unfortunately, we got onto a medication that didn't help and it kind of progressed and made things worse. And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. And that kind of culminated in my attempt in February of 2018. And that truly was like also rock bottom. I'm also sober. I've been sober for about almost 4.5 years, actually. And I was going through like the process of being sober at that time. It was really difficult to deal with trying to be sober while also being incredibly depressed and dealing with all of these things in my head. And it just felt like everything came just like to fruition, like combined at once and collided and just became like this massive thing that just brought me down to the bottom.
Yeah, that is a risk. When you take SSRIs, when you're prescribed SSRIs, which are the different medications for anxiety and depression, most of the time it's kind of trial and error with patients. I mean, some work really well right off the bat. Sometimes we have to stop one, start another, but there is a very small risk that it can cause suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts. And I've seen it happen in clinical practice, and it's terrifying for everyone involved. And sometimes the outcome is devastating. I'm so glad that you got help. I'm so glad that you were able to go to a medical facility and get the help that you need. And to see you now on the other side, Running has a funny way of making us happy, but I think there's also, and you kind of alluded to this as well, the confidence that it gives you, like showing up for yourself in the training builds this like self awareness, self efficacy that's indescribable.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, there are so many days where I just don't want to do anything. I just want to sit on the couch. I just want to watch TV, play video games, or just not do anything because I'm exhausted. And to have the discipline to be able to get up, go to my treadmill, go outside, and go for my run when I really don't want to, I think is something that has really helped me understand that I have the dedication, and I also have kind of the mental fortitude to force myself to do hard things when I really don't want to.
If I'm doing the math right, it sounds like you got sober during COVID. Kind of give us that take. Was it more of just a health decision? Why did you decide to eliminate that from your diet?
When I decided to run the Chicago Marathon in 2021, I said to myself, you know what? I don't want to put this in my body. I want to be healthy. I want to do things that will help me become a better runner. Alcohol is just not going to do that. At the same time, I'm a depressive drunk. Like, I get super sad and just am not a happy person to be around. And I don't know when to stop. I get sick all the time. And when it happens, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to put something in my body that A is going to make me lose control of myself, and two, make me act this way, and three, make me sick. Like, I just don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So I made the conscious choice kind of at that moment to do it. And the thing that kind of one of the things that keeps me going is when I first got sober in 2016, my grandpa, who is like the biggest father figure in my life, and I love him dearly so much. He told me I'm going to get sober too, and every time I tell them, when I celebrate a milestone and I post it on social media, he'll always comment something like, "I'm so proud of you. I still haven't had a drink since 2016, and I'm happy that you're here." So that's one of the things that keeps me going with staying sober, but also I just think about the health issues, and there's so much research out there that's come out about how bad drinking alcohol can be for you. And it doesn't matter technically how much you drink, it can cause issues no matter what. But for me, it became I can't stop. I went to meetings, I got a sponsor, and I did all those, the steps and everything. And they were fantastic because they helped me learn so much about myself. That on top of running and therapy was like the the triad of things that push me forward and help me become a better person. And one of the things I always tell people is I respect alcohol because I know what it does, but I will not pick it up because I know what happens to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, alcohol is a CNS depressant, right? So it was doing its job,
Oh,
right? When you felt that. It's interesting. I actually had like a weird reaction to alcohol where it made me hyper, like it like
oh,
up it was more of an upper for me, which is also problematic too. But yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of you. I think a lot of people struggle in that first year, especially if you didn't have like some huge event and you're just kind of doing it
yeah.
because of health reasons. So for you to, find a community that helped you to get into a hobby, I think finding a hobby that you enjoy because when you stop drinking, you have a lot of free time, and what is it? Idle hands are the devil's playground.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you really need to replace that habit with something that's more effective, more healthy, right?
Yeah. And once you stop drinking, you get stuck with your thoughts. So many things go through your head, and it's so difficult to try to navigate through them. And so, finding some way to be able to understand them and get them out and be able to, work with them to try to understand yourself, I think is so important. And that's why I always recommend if somebody wants to get sober, um, AA is phenomenal. I know it's not for everybody, but it really does help you not just stop drinking, but it also helps you with all of those thoughts that are left in your head after you stop. Because I had a sponsor tell me, it's not the alcohol itself that makes you an alcoholic. It's you have an alcoholic mind and you have all of these thoughts that you need to process and that you need to get through and understand. And once you do that, you're able to really not pick up something like that and make it easier. Because at the beginning, oh my God, I put myself in bad situations because I love to go to karaoke bars, so I would see alcohol all the time. All my friends drink, and luckily they respect that I don't drink. So whenever anybody offers me something, they kind of yell at them to be like, "Don't do that." But it's a wonderful thing once you get over that hump because it's so difficult at the beginning. It's just like running. It's you're gonna hate it at the beginning and it's gonna suck so much. But once you if you keep pushing, if you keep showing that perseverance and that resilience, you will be able to finally understand so many things that you never even thought about before.
Yeah. It's a delayed gratification process.
Mhm. I like that so much better.
Yeah. So you had mentioned the trifecta of running and removing alcohol, but you also mentioned therapy. And I love that you talked about this. I love when men talk about therapy. My husband, his life changed when he started EMDR therapy. What type
Ooh.
of therapy did you do?
I've done a couple. I've done CBT, I've done DBT, but it's been life changing. DBT kind of like changed everything for me in terms of how to communicate with people. And CBT has helped me somewhat with being able to understand the negative thoughts that come through my head. Meditation has been incredible for me too. I was lucky enough, like, if you talk to me, I will recommend therapy to every single person. I don't care if you're having a good day or a bad day. Therapy is incredible and it can change your life in so many ways because there are things that we just don't want to talk about with certain people, and to have somebody that we can trust and be able to like ensure that what we're talking about is private and something that we can work on together is phenomenal. But I was lucky enough, kind of at the moment when I made my attempt, I was in an outpatient program at a hospital in New York City where I went to therapy. I went to group therapy, I went to individual therapy, I went to psychiatry. And it was incredible to be in that program while I was going through this because I worked on so many different things with so many different people that by the time I got out, I actually was so upset because there was like a 2 year time limit. When it ended, I cried because I was like, I don't want to leave these people because I've learned so much and I want to continue this. And I've been in therapy since I was probably like 19, and there has been probably little gaps in between when I don't have a therapist because I always think that having somebody like that is so important. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're going through something that's bad or if you feel totally great. It will help you in ways that you won't even think about and that you didn't even know.
Yeah. I had a guy on last year from England named Jake, and he had mentioned having a therapist as like part of your boardroom, right?
Mhm.
Like having a life coach, having a therapist, having a coach, like physical running coach. I thought that was such a good way to look at it. Just an added member to your team. And
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, it's an opportunity for you to grow and for someone to see your blind spots. Yeah, I agree with you. I did therapy. So when I got sober, literally the day I got sober, on my knees begging for my life, I called a therapist and I
Mhm.
was like, I need help. And I
Mhm.
think sometimes it takes a little while to find the right
Oh
therapist
yeah.
to jive with you. So if it's not working with that first one, maybe try again. Sometimes the hardest part is just calling and making an appointment.
Yes, yes. It's funny when I got out of my therapy program, I went through in about a month or a month and a half span, I went through about 10 therapists to try to find the right one. And yeah, it if you are looking for one and you go to an appointment and it doesn't work out, don't make that stop you from trying to find somebody because just because it didn't work out with them, that it doesn't mean that it's gonna not work out with you. For example, my therapist, my last therapist that I had, I'd been with him for almost 4 years. I loved him dearly and found out the end of last year that my insurance was not going to be accepted by him anymore. And I was devastated. So I had to find a new therapist. And that person that I'm seeing now, wonderful, incredible. I love them. So
Mhm.
definitely, if you're looking for a therapist and an appointment doesn't go the way that you want, there are so many other therapists out there that have different personalities and work on different things that can find exactly what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Such good advice. I have some questions about your running.
Definitely.
I wanted to ask you, just because I'm genuinely curious, of all the world majors, which one was your favorite?
See, I'm privy to New York because I lived in New York for 17 years and it was my first marathon and I run it every year, but I love Tokyo. I love the city. The marathon itself is so well organized and um a lot of people say that it's quieter than the other majors, which it kind of is, but the people are still genuinely excited for you to be there and there's still a lot of people. And to be able to run through the city, which is pristine by the way, coming from New York, it's like night and day. It's really wonderful, and it's funny because the finish line and the medal for Tokyo is very small. Like, literally, it's like a small arch, and then the medal you get is actually, like, super tiny compared to
Oh,
all the other ones, but it's still just a wonderful race for me. Plus, I
yeah.
also love to make it a whole vacation, so we go there for, like, 2 weeks, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But New York is just really important just in my heart to me.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the world majors. Do you get like an extra medal if you complete the six?
Yes, actually, this is the six-star medal. Sydney is not on here because that's going to be part of the nine-star medal when it comes out. But this
Hmm.
has every major city on it. And then on the back, you could put a little spot here for like when you finished it.
Which of the 6 was the hardest?
When I did it for the first time was Boston because of those hills, those Newton hills.
Oh, God.
It was so funny. I told myself, because I knew about them, and I was like, okay, the one thing I want to make sure I do is run up Heartbreak Hill. I want to be able to do that. I got to the hills and I didn't know that they were the Newton hills. And so I was walking, and then finally I saw there's a sign at the top of Heartbreak Hill that says, you have crested Heartbreak Hill. And I saw it and I went, are you kidding me? It's like, I didn't even know that this was Heartbreak Hill. I'm so mad at myself. So I did it again last year. Luckily, I got sponsored by Shocks, which I was not expecting. And I told myself, I don't care if you are dying, you are running up those hills. And I did. I was very proud of myself. But I would say that's probably the most difficult one.
You tell this to the girl who's about to run it.
Oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. It's going to be incredible.
I'm just kidding. I know it's gonna be hard, and, I think anything worth having is hard, right?
Yeah.
Things that come easy are never worth it. They don't feel the same. The
Mhm.
dopamine hit isn't the same if you didn't have to work extremely hard for it,
Absolutely. I
you know?
completely agree with you.
I wanted to ask, how are you different now compared to your first marathon?
Oh my goodness. Running without a full plan for nutrition, hydration, and understanding my feet in general, what shoes I needed to wear, what socks I needed to wear, was probably one of the stupidest things I could have done. And I'm surprised that I didn't actually break something or have some sort of fracture after I finished that race because I discovered things like I have flat feet, so I need insoles in my shoes. I need to make sure that the shoes that I wear are a little bit wider because of my feet. I didn't understand things like proper running form and being able to balance out when I need to eat something, when I need to drink something, and take a gel and things like that. So I've discovered that marathon running is less. It's still a sport, but it's more of an art because you have to understand so much more about the race itself because you need to balance your nutrition, you need to balance your hydration, you need to balance your salt intake, you need to know what shoes you need to wear, the clothing that you wear, you need to make sure that that's going to fit you properly. You need to understand things like chafing, the difference between like, am I running in the heat? Am I running in the cold? What's the difference between what the weather is? I've been able to learn so much more about my marathon journey from that first marathon. And now I'm at a much better place and much more structured and balanced when it comes to running those races. So I don't go in blind and not understand anything. Like I do research on the course. I do research on like where all the aid stations are. Like it's all an art and a science.
Yeah. There's something incredibly special about the first one, though. I don't know if you had that same experience. I was really young when I ran my first one. I had just turned 22. I don't
Mm.
know what I was thinking signing up for this thing at 22, but I did it, and it was Atlanta Marathon, which they
Oh
just had
yeah.
their 20th anniversary. It is so hilly,
Hmm.
but I didn't know any different. I ran a 3:47, which was pretty
Wow.
good for my first, but,
Yeah.
just completing that distance, right? Because you don't train to that distance. There's something insanely special about crossing the finish line of your first marathon.
I remember running that race. When I started the race, I had my headphones in with my noise cancellation on. I was like, I'm just going to run the race. I'm going to focus on getting to the finish line. As soon as we got into Brooklyn and I saw all of the crowds, I went, oh crap, I got to put my noise canceling off because this is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And I remember just running and I think I just looked in shock the whole time because I was just like, how are there so many people here? And then I made it a goal to high five any kid that was like holding out their hand because I was like, you know what? Maybe that'll inspire them to start running. And I struggled a lot during that race. It was, I didn't stop for the most part. I stopped to stretch, I think, once or twice, but, I ran the whole way and it was brutal. It was something that I cannot express the amount of pain that I was in because I didn't look up the course. I didn't understand the elevation. I didn't know kind of anything about it. And by the time I got to the finish line, there's a video of me that my wife took, and I'm sobbing, and I waved to them, and I crossed the finish line, and I remember going up to the one of the volunteers, and they were like, "Are you okay?" I was like leaning up a fence, and I said, "I think my feet are broken." And they got me a wheelchair, they brought me over, and I was in the med tent for like a solid 30, 45 minutes because they had ice on my knees, my ankles, my feet. And it's so funny with marathon runners because we'll be in the middle of the med tent. We could be dehydrated, we could be in pain, we could be suffering so much. And the only thing that's on our mind after that is what is next. And that is exactly what went through my head after that because
Yeah.
as soon as I crossed that finish line, I said, I can do this. and it changed everything for me.
Yeah, that's so funny because I just completed my first Ironman last fall,
Wow.
Ironman Chattanooga 140.6. And I did not have my salt correct in the Chattanooga heat and ended up with severe hyponatremia, hospitalized, like direct admit, ambulance,
Oh
the
my
whole
goodness.
thing. And literally the day I was discharged, I was like signing up for my next one. Like, diabolical. But I think, yes, it is a little bit crazy, but also there's the whole applied suffering thing, right? So, like, healthy forms of applied suffering, exercise, cold therapy, sauna, you get a huge natural dopamine hit from that.
Mhm.
And someone who has struggled with addiction, right? Yes, we're chasing healthier forms of a dopamine hit.
Absolutely. My wife tells me that I'm addicted to running, and I tell her, I'd rather be addicted to this than something else that
Yeah.
could be far worse.
Harm reduction is what we call that in the medical field.
Oh,
I wanted to ask you about because you coach, right? You're a running coach and
mhm.
you have a podcast. Kind of tell us about the podcast and your coaching.
Yeah. So the podcast is called At Your Own Pace. I started it at the end of December. It's kind of a continuation of something that I started just about this time last year, where I'd run the Tokyo Marathon. There was a whole issue with water and everything during the race. So I said, I want to interview some people and just see what their experience was like. So I interviewed, I think, 5 people and put that video out, and then did something similar with the Boston Marathon, where I interviewed a couple people, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just start interviewing runners. I did, I think, one episode, and then life just got busy. And it's funny, I was running on my treadmill one day and the idea just popped into my head, like the name of the podcast, the idea behind it and everything. So I did my first interview and it went really well. And I had reached out and said, if any runners want to be interviewed, let me know. My goal with this podcast is to interview people of all backgrounds and experience levels. You can have people that are brand new. You could have people that have run. I think I'm about to interview somebody on Monday who's about to run the Everest Marathon.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's all over the place because I want people to be inspired by this podcast. The questions that I ask, because I ask everybody at the end of the podcast, we do a debrief after I stop recording, and I ask them how it went. But the questions that I try to ask are tailored specifically to that person's story and what I find in my research for them, so that the questions are more about the resilience and the perseverance and how you've been able to get the motivation to keep going when things get really difficult. My hope with that is that people will understand, whether you're an experienced runner or if you're someone who's thinking about getting started or brand new, that the difficulties that we face as runners are universal and that it's okay to have them. As long as you just keep persevering and pushing through, you'll be able to get to your finish line, or you'll be able to get to whatever goal that you have. And so I've done 14 episodes. The 15th comes out actually on Monday, and it's the last episode for what I call season one. I'm going to take like a month off to kind of like relax and do some interviews for season two, and then start again probably in May or June. And it's been phenomenal so far. I've met so many people that are, chasing so many goals, and it's funny. You could see someone online who looks like the average, normal, everyday runner, and then you hear their story, and it's just like you need to be heard. What you have gone through, what got you into running, will inspire so many other people. And it makes me a little frustrated that we have these influencers online that are, try to portray this idea of what running is and gatekeep it and all these things. And my entire platform that I have is for advocacy for inclusive running. So I do that on my Threads account. I do that on my Instagram account. And the podcast is kind of a continuation of that, of being able to say, hey, you might have this person that's got 600,000 followers and hey, runs like a 5-minute mile. But this story of this person whose wife passed away from cancer and they started this nonprofit in order to raise money to give the St. Jude's, and now they are running the World Marathon Majors to inspire their children, is something that I think is missed in this community. And with my coaching program, that is also brand new. I just became a certified running coach at the beginning of the year, and I coached a few people so far. So I'm coaching someone to their first marathon next month in the Paris Marathon, and then I'm coaching somebody for the Brooklyn Half in May. And the idea behind my coaching is, one, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not expensive because one, I'm a new coach, and two, I don't want money to come in the way of you trying to become a better runner. So I work with whoever I'm coaching to make sure that you don't feel burdened by that. And two, we I will be your biggest cheerleader to make sure that you get everything done to get to your finish line. Whether it's I check in with you every single day to make sure that you're doing your training and that if you're having issues, we talk about it. But also, if you need me to run your race with you, I'll do that. if you need me to pace you, I'll do that. It doesn't matter to me. I want to make sure that when you start with me and you finish with me, you can look back at the entire process and see the growth that you've made and to be proud of that. And that my goal is not just to give you like a training plan, but to be that person that can hold your hand as you go through it to make sure that one, you're doing it in a smart way so that you don't injure yourself. And I've been able to provide guidance on how to get, PT and things like that, and making sure that they understand that like I'm a friend. I'm there to support you and make sure that you get to whatever goal that you want. And even if you don't, I'm still proud of you because of the growth that you've made. And if you want to continue to grow, I'm always here to help you.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such good advice if you're in a running slump, or maybe, struggling in whatever it is. Maybe you're not hitting PRs, maybe you're just like burnt out.
Mhm.
Getting a coach is so helpful. Or if you don't have the background of running. I grew up as a runner. I've been running literally like hill sprints since I was 4. And I was a D1 runner. That was the last time I had a coach was
Mm.
in college. And I just ran a race about a month ago, and the girl who won, I got second, she got first, stopped me and she was like talking to me about her coach and that I could do really well with her coach. So I just got a coach about a month ago. And even over the last 4 weeks, it has been so awesome. I think what I was missing is I want to make someone proud.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that feeling of making someone else proud, it like lit another fire in me.
Yeah, I love getting text messages or meeting with my coachees virtually and telling me about how they've grown. One of my coachees who, when he started, had issues with running slower and being able to understand as you run slower, you build up your endurance. And then as you build up your endurance, you can start to run faster, easier. And the growth that he's made since he started training, I trained him for his first half marathon, and now we are training for his first marathon. The growth that I've seen since the half marathon all the way up to now has been just wonderful. And seeing him hit the PRs that he wants makes me so proud of him. I don't care about what I've done.
Yeah.
I care about him being proud of himself and being able to know that the coaching that I provided it helped guide him in some way.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna, like, squeeze everything out of my lemon, if that makes sense, and for me to have a coach that can really do that, like, I wanna reach my full potential as an
Mhm.
athlete, especially as a master's athlete. I'm 41, and, what's so cool is that girl that I was talking about earlier, she's 48, and she told me, she was like, "You can get faster in your 40s. Just know that you're not hitting a ceiling. The ceiling is far
Mhm.
away." And it was so inspiring talking to her.
Yeah, I'm running faster now than I ever have in my life. And
Yeah.
I continuously question like, am I going to hit the wall? Like, is this the ceiling? Like, am I going to now get slower because I'm going to be 39 next year? I'll be a masters runner. Like, is this going to be the end? Like, am I not going to be able to hit PRs? Am I not going to be able to qualify for a race? And as I've seen with my training and I get smarter with it, no, that's not the case. I
Mhm,
can definitely keep going. And age is just a number to me. Like, as
mhm.
long as I keep training, as long as I keep taking care of myself, I know that I can continue to get better.
Yeah. I competed in the USATF Masters 5K Championship last October. I'll be there this year. There was 88-year-old men out there
Wow.
running 10-minute miles. The 70-year-old men and women were like cooking 6-minute miles. Like it was insane. It was pouring rain too. Like literally pouring rain, super hilly course. I mean, it was like it's what I want. I don't want to be a
Awesome.
professional athlete. I want to be the 88-year-old guy
Yes.
cooking it out
Yes.
there.
I keep thinking about the world record for a marathon age is 99. So
Wow.
I'm like, you know what? Let me get to 100 and I will break that record.
We are coming for that record. Well, I have the lightning round for you, which is just a fun get to know you. People get invested in you after they hear your story. So they're just fun questions. The first one is, do you have any hidden talents?
So I am a classically trained singer and I played trumpet for about 17 years.
Okay, that's really cool. Second question, what is a song that instantly puts you in a good mood?
Ooh, so this is gonna be really weird, but I'm a big fan of video game music. And there is a video game that came out last year called Clair Obscur, and the music is very classical and operatic. And so whenever I listen to that, it really calms me down. And it's very funny. We just had a baby, and I played that music consistently all the time when she was in the womb. Now, when she gets frustrated, if I play that music, she calms down. So
Wow.
I love it. She loves it. My wife now loves it. So that always gets me in a good mood.
Okay, I love that answer. Number 3, what was the last concert you've been to?
I think the last concert I went to was Mumford& and Sons last October.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right, number 4, what would be your last meal?
Meal, probably pizza.
Are
Yeah.
you in New York?
I was. I live in Jersey now.
Okay. Yeah, well, New York's known for their pizza. So do you prefer New York or Chicago pizza?
Oh, New York. There's a place in Brooklyn that's been open since 1929. It's called Ella Spumoni. It is the greatest pizza you will ever have in your life, ever.
Okay.
It's Sicilian, but it's made in a weird way. I can't
Mhm.
describe it. But if you ever go, I guarantee you'll be blown away by it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go. Last question, kind of a heavy question. What type of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
I want people to remember me as somebody who fought for inclusiveness and for the voice for people that don't normally have one. I grew up heavily inspired by politics. My bachelor's is in history, my master's is an MPA. And so I've worked in public service my entire life. As a runner, I want to be somebody who will advocate on behalf of individuals that might not have a voice, being able to stand up and be able to fight for inclusivity, to fight to against gatekeeping of running, and to welcome everybody into this sport, regardless of who you are, your pace, your finish time, your experience level, your background, who you look like, your sexual identity, your gender, what have you. It doesn't matter to me. Everyone belongs in this sport. And to be able to be that louder voice than the people that say no is something that I really want to be remembered for as a runner. And I want to be remembered as the person who gave back, who supported other people. And like, I don't care about the outcome for me. I want to make sure that you're taken care of and that there is the struggles that you face, you understand that you're not alone in. And that is probably the biggest thing that I want to be remembered.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome things to be remembered for. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Your story is extremely powerful. I mean, your life could have ended very differently, and to see you now and to have this platform that you have, it really is incredible. Where can people follow you, find you, or if they're interested in your podcast or your coaching?
Yeah. So my username is Mike Runs Marathons on every social media outlet. And then my website is just MikeRunsMarathons.com. And my podcast is At Your Own Pace.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, hon. It was so nice meeting you. I'll see you in Boston in 4
Yes,
weeks. Yes.
absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.